But today, we want to talk about something in this red box, the machine learning statistics side of things. And that is anomaly detection. But this anomaly detection, there are a lot of anomaly detection related algorithms or methodologies and so on. But today, like what I like to focus is the time series data. So the time series data is typically, like going up and down, right? And then you not all the data, but most often like you see some type of the trends or patterns. And then sometimes like there's some movements or activity that you can find that is not according to the general trend. And that is we consider as anomalies. And we want to find those things, and so that maybe we can find some kind of like a weird or suspicious activities, like such as financial fraud, or maybe like machines acting kind of like abnormally if you are monitoring the machine activities or website activities and so on. But no, it doesn't have to be like this anomaly detection is to find some kind of negative activity, but instead there can be the positive activities. Like for example, what is trending on your websites? Some of the blog posts, some of the entries that are kind of picking up with a lot of audiences for some reasons. For example, when you go to Twitter or something, and then like sometimes you see it trending, and when you click on it, and then like you can see like what people are really talking about, having a conversation type of thing. So those kind of irregular or abnormal or anomal activities or trend is the one that basically we want to find. And then there are a bunch of algorithms in the world, but there's one developed by Arun Kejriwal and others who, well, I'm not sure today, but used to be working at Twitter. And then they had this type of the same problem. They're monitoring their user activities or website accesses and so on. And then they wanted to find, some abnormal activities, or they wanted to find a trending, what is trending on the Twitter. And then they developed this algorithm and then published it in the form of R package. So as most of you guys know, that Exploratory is UI for R. Therefore, we could actually incorporate that package relatively easily, and then expose it under the analytics view. And that is, I like to demonstrate and show you like how you can actually use it and what type of the data like you can actually bring into for this type of problem. So I'm not going to go into too much detail on this algorithm side of things, how it was implemented. If you are interested in, I'm going to, after this, I'm going to send you guys the link to the recording and the slides, and also the links to some useful website pages that talks about more implementation side of this algorithm. But at a high level, I think what is so cool about this is that it can detect not just a global trend, like for example, like when you have like 3 years of the data, and then like you might want to find like what months or what the point of the data was picking up super high or going down super low, that type of the global trend. But the global trend is basically some kind of something different from the overall sort of like a seasonal trend. Let's say like yearly or monthly trend. But local trend is that it's also within that seasonality. There can be some kind of a weird or abnormal activities or movements. And that is usually hard to detect when you focus on global trend. But this algorithm can also help you identify even like the local anomalies as well as the global anomalies as well. Okay, so today, so the algorithms is one thing, but also I like to sort of like show some of the data sources that you can work with. So one is a Quandl financial data, and Quandl is the website or the service that you can use to access to something called alternative data, not just like a typical financial data, but also sometimes the data doesn't get published often, or or text data, or some of the data that's not traditional on, for example, like SEC type of the data. And then obviously like there's stock price data, and that's easy, but you can also get that data inside Exploratory easily. And then last not least is the Google Analytics data. So like I'm going to use these three things and then demonstrate the algorithm or analytics so that you can get kind of feeling like what you can do, what you cannot do. Okay. There we go. So let's start with a Quando. In order to use a Quando, so basically, so there's a data frames here, right? And then there is extension data, and underneath, you can create your own extension. If you're interested in, there's a document, please let me know. Contact me later. I can point you to the right document. But also, like we have a preset of seeded extension, data source extensions. Those are you can find here under the add new, and you haven't installed, like you can just click on install. It might take some time if that extension has our package also requires our package, then it's going to download that package and install. But once you install though, then all you need to do is basically click on this like import data button. And for example, here, the Quando case, I'm going to just click on the import data. Then like, I just need to type the code. And then what is the code is like you can go to Quando page, website. And then basically like what there's a financial data and also alternative data. Today, like what I want to focus is the financial data. And there's some like a premium data that you have to subscribe the service to get it, or there's a bunch of free data as well. So like, for example, like if I click on free, and then let's say like a Bitcoin or something, and then like there's various number of data that are related to the Bitcoin. And one of them is called Bitcoin market. And then this one basically tracks the price in the US dollar. And then as most of you know, like I think Bitcoin has kind of like a collapse. So it's, it's not necessarily a good data. I mean, because it itself is kind of like anomaly data, but I'm going to use that nonetheless and then see what the anomaly detection algorithm can do. So to use here, this Quando code, that is the important piece. So like you basically, you want to just copy this once you find the data. And then this page also, this site can give you like, for example, interest rate or inflation index, or stock price, and there's many things, not just Bitcoin. And then, but anyway, so I'm going to just copy and then come back in here, Exploratory, and just paste it. And then basically you type the start date, like what date. If you don't, then it try to get the whole data from the Quando service. And then the API key, like I recommend you to register at Quando. It's free, so then you can get the API. So therefore, like once you have the API, then you basically have full access. I mean, as long as the data is free, or like depend like your subscription status. But if you don't, you can still use it. But sometimes you might not be able to get the whole data. Depends on what data you like to use. So, but here for this, something like this, you can just kind of click on get data button, and then you can get the whole data. I'm gonna just go with this for now, and then so click on save button, and then like I'm gonna type Bitcoin data, and create the new data frame. And then this data basically is very similar to stock price, right? So like it has open and the close price, and also like what is the highest price of the day and what is the lowest price of the day, and then volume. And also here is a weighted price, but basically this is the price weighted by the volume. So we're gonna use this weighted price movement and then see like can we find anomalies and how it can find anomalies. To do though, the before, like let's try to see like what's the data look like. So go to the chart view and then changing the chart to line chart type, and then assign the date And this data, like I have, is like a kind of a day by day range. So I'm going to just assign today. And the y-axis is that like I'm going to use this weighted price for now. So the data looks like this. And the last part is kind of like that, the market basically collapsed. So it's kind of going down like super crazy. But also we went up like a crazy around this time, if you remember. So the price itself is not really, it's very hard to see any like a general trend, but nonetheless, I'm gonna work on this. And then let's ignore, like, for example, this year was just too crazy, like kind of just going down. So in that case, you can actually filter in the chart, in the analytics, or the step itself. For today, like I'm gonna just filter the data for just entire data as a data wrangling step. So from here, from column header menu, select the filter, and then equal to, and there are various options, like how you want to filter. And in this case, I want to just filter for, let's say, 2017, like last year. And then now, if I go to the chart, and this chart is not reflected by the filter result because the chart is pinned to the data source step. That's a default movement because I created this chart when this step was not there. But I can actually move this pinned step to the filter step. And then now, like what I'm seeing here is that only the 2017 data. Okay. So this is how we can visualize, but what we really want to do is to apply the anomaly detection algorithm. So like I'm gonna go to analytics view and then change the type to anomaly detection. Select the analytics type to anomaly detection, and then assign the date column. And then value is, I'm gonna use the same thing, the weighted price, and then just run. And then like what I get is something like this chart, very similar to what we saw under the chart view, except there are some dots. And then these red dots, meaning the negative anomaly, which is compared to what was expected, and it actually was much lower. So that's why it's kind of a negative direction of anomalies. And then now the green is this opposite. It's a positive anomalies. It's much higher than what was expected based on the model that was created behind the scene. If you want to see like how much difference, then you can go to anomalies with expected. So here it's a little hard to see, but for example, so this green and the expected value was like here like 17,802. But actually the real value was 19,000. So like there's this much of that sort of like an unexpected movement. And then, for example, here red is not so much, so probably it's around the same. But I think these are the stuff is basically the local. So like it's a small movement, but within this period, it was actually considered as anomaly. And then basically, usually this type of the data, when you look at here, for example, what happened here is this is like a September 12, something happened. And then typically like when you go to the Google News or whatever, and then this Bitcoin is very easy because it gets influenced by the news a lot. So like usually like something happened. And it turned out, I think around this time, I think there was Bitcoin Cash, which is a fork version of the Bitcoin, was introduced. So that kind of news actually impacted on the price of the Bitcoin itself. So to find, basically you get this anomaly, but what you want to do with that is typically, like for example, something like this, and you can actually go deeper in finding like what is so unique about it. And instead of like, browsing all the news and all the events, and then you can just kind of like pinpoint to like what could be more important. So, so that's a very nutshell on anomaly detection. And then like another thing like I want to do is for just two more data sets. So another one is a stock price. So in order to get the stock price, again, you go to the extension data. And then that's where like you can also find this historical stock price. And this behind the scene is using something called tidy quant R package. And this was created by actually the author of this package. And then you can click on import data and then type any stock symbol. It doesn't have to be just one symbol, like you can just use a comma to have like a multiple symbol as well. But let's say, like, for example, like a Tesla, and then you want to get, let's say like maybe 2010. I'm not sure like when they actually went to public, but it's type just something like this, and then get data, and then you get the data. It's very simple and then kind of like obvious. And then like a stock, Tesla. And then it's very similar to what we have seen with a Bitcoin. So like I'm gonna just go to the chart view again. I could try to understand like what the data is like. For example, like this, and then stock price is adjusted, and it moves in this type of movement. And then like basically what we want to do is, can we use this algorithm to find the anomalies? And then like I'm going, again, like basically do the same thing, anomaly detection, and then like assign the column, and then just run the anomaly. And then in this case, this data, it turned out it's sort of Saturday, Sunday goes zero. So therefore, it kind of goes up and down like every sort of like a week. So it's a little bit like hard to find, like it's global anomaly. But nonetheless, still you can see sort of like like where it can be red, positive or negative, and so on. This is actually a lot of noise here. So like, well, for example, if we want to focus on just like this year or something, again, like you can create a step, or you can actually use the chart filter. So this time, like I'm going to use the chart level filter, and then that means if I create a new chart, then like I have to do that chart filter again. So that's the difference between like creating chart level filter or step level filter. But nonetheless, I want to use a filter to just to get like only this year's data. So to get this year's data, you can actually, instead of typing that equal to and 2018, you can actually also use this like a relative dates option, which basically give you the different options of sort of previous year or next year and so on. In this case, what I want to do is year to date, so like from 2018 to today. So yeah, select that, and then like, I'm gonna just run it. And then this time, basically what I have is only the 2018 to today. And then like you can see sort of what are the, sorry, anomaly around this data. So now, like, so for example, like, like every week it goes up and down, but some of the stuff, for example, this seems to be like super high, and that was sort of like it's actually better to go to anomaly expected. So here, let's say like August 6th is much higher than expected. And then so basically, natural question is what happened like around August 6th. And then it was super, much higher than expected. And well, it turned out I had some time before this meeting, and then I was looking up around here, and then Elon Musk made a comment about trying to taking a Tesla private. So obviously, market responded because that 420 was much higher than it was traded around that time. So people actually started buying Tesla stock, and it actually moved the stock price. And it says August 7, but here is August 6. Well, it turned out we actually found some kind of like weird behavior with this algorithm when we assign a date column instead of project city, the calendar date column. So we are actually looking into that issue right now. So this one is for some reason 1 day behind. So this is supposed to be August 7th, actually. So that's a bug, I think. But anyway, so we can find, sometimes this kind of news is very effectively like what actually impacting. And, like, as you know, Elon Musk makes a lot of comments on the Twitter, and some of the stuff impact the stock price, some of the stuff don't. And so, this is one way to sort of like help, like which one that actually is really impacting and how kind of stuff. So now, so one more thing I want to do before jumping into the Google Analytics data. So this is actually basically, we're using one type of algorithms to detect, what are the anomalies, right? The positive or negative stuff. But another way to find it is that we can use some sort of time series forecasting algorithm. And then that is, I covered, like, I think 2 weeks ago. And that algorithm is not just for forecasting the future, but also helps us to identify this type of anomaly behavior. So like what that means, like I'm gonna just click on the create a new analytics, and then assign here, in this case, the time series forecasting with profit. And then assign the column to be a date is the same thing. And then let's see, adjusted price. And then I think date is okay. And then here, I'm gonna select the same thing just for the YTD. So only just this year for the data, and then just run it. And then this one is basically forecasting for only, if you have seen the previous seminar, we can use this property to set like a forecasting time period. Right now, the 10 days. If you change this to, for example, like, like 60 days, and then you're gonna get more forecasted area here. But however, like what I wanted to touch upon here is that this orange band, that is actually uncertainty interval. So, and the default is 80%. You can actually change that to like different values. But it basically, it's saying is like behind the scene, it builds a model, forecasting model. And then basically saying like 80% of the time, like it will stay within this range. That means this is the past, this is the future from right-hand side. But in the past, even the past, like it's somehow these picking point, or like these like kind of like dipping points couldn't be stay within this range. So that usually is basically outside of sort of a general trend, right? So this is one way to find sort of like anomalies. But the problem here, though, is that this is what I was talking about. It's more like a global anomalies. So based on this like a general trend or general seasonality, like you can find this type of things, but it's not actually good at finding some anomaly movement within this kind of a small range. So that's where this anomaly detection algorithm helps. But if you're interested in more like generic anomalies, global anomalies, and also focus on more like explainability, this probably is much easier to explain. Hey, this is a general trend, and then these are the area that didn't fit into this trend. So that's much easier to explain. Because this one is sort of like, so what's really happening in the algorithm? So you have to actually dig deeper in to explain what the anomaly definition is. And then this one is also, it's sort of like not 100%, like sometimes it doesn't recognize some of the anomalies. So like in that case, it's kind of hard to explain. So it really depends like how you like to, what's your goal is. Okay, so I just wanted to touch like find this time series forecasting is also can be used to identify those kind of irregular movements as well. So now the last but not least is that use Google Analytics. So I'm going to do the same thing, but the reason I wanted to touch upon is that to use some kind of I want to use the repeat by. So like I want to create, for example, more kind of a section based, or in this case, the country based, and then like find anomalies within each country, and then find like what was really going on. Like why the Google Analytics is about like monitoring the page accesses, right? So what what is causing some of the page access, page views to go high or go low, and that helps if you're like in a marketing or type of the business. Okay, so I'm gonna just click on this plus button, and then in this time, like go to Cloud Apps Data, and then if you have Google Analytics embedded in your website, then usually like you go to Google Analytics page and then monitor that data. But also you can actually get that data directly from the Exploratory as well. Then first time, I've already set it up, but the first time you access Google Analytics, then like it will ask you to do the OAuth, Open Authentication. And then once that you establish a connection with Google Analytics, then like you will have this view ID type of thing listed. Then you select, whatever the view ID is necessary, then you can start kind of selecting the dimension and the metrics and so on. So I'm going to change that, like, for example, last 90 days of the data, and the dimension, I want to get, like, for example, date, when that page view was. And also, let's say, I like to see like a country where the page is coming from, access is coming from, and where it's coming from also. And there's a bunch of stuff, but like, I want to just focus on a source. And the source can be like a Google search or Facebook or Twitter and so on, where that user traffic coming from. And the metrics also has a bunch of them. But this time, let's focus on, like, let's say, like unique page view or something. And then I'm going to just stop here and then just click on that Get Data button. And then you get this type of data. This data is really saying, for example, September 12, 4 unique page views. This traffic came from Australia and a direct access. So somebody, for example, received the email and they clicked the link and came to our website. And then 2 people coming from the Google search, and then so on. And I'm going to just click on the Save button, then name that to Google Analytics. Oops, maybe like there's a similar name inside. And then like I get that data like this. And it's very, very simple. I have only country and source and the unique page views. It's that super simple. Again, like I go to the chart view, try to understand what data we have. So assign the data date column to x-axis, and then see like what the data look like. And this is like unique page view. And then basically going up and down, and see some kind of patterns here, right? Now from here, what I want to do is, again, apply the anomaly detection. And this part is exactly the same, nothing new about that. So I'm going to just quickly run this thing. And then it detects positive anomaly here, and then negative anomaly around here. So this, for example, positive is sort of like, you can see like, for some reason, these 2 are not identified, but that's probably the model behind the scene was created, and they would expect or learn, they're picking up around this time. So it probably compared to the expected value is not much difference. But for example, this one compared to expected value, and then October 17th also, it's much higher. And even here is like September 15 is compared to expected value, much higher. So these are more like a global trend, global anomaly. And the local anomaly is like this type of the small anomaly, small differences, but it can detect because usually probably expected around here, and then but it was not much. So, but this much, then the next question is, when you find this type of anomaly with Google Analytics or website monitoring data, next question is what happened here? And then it's not so much about negative, it's more like to do with like a positive, like why this day we got so much traffic. For example, like why this day we got so much traffic? Did we do something? Did we do some kind of campaign? Did we do some kind of promotion? And that's what we want to know. And so we can, for example, try to understand what's happening. Let's say here, and then like we can assign that source. This is like I just came back to the chart, and I want to do more like a dig deeper in here. And then here, like I'm asked, for example, like there are 230 sources, and that's actually too much. So what I want to do is I want to actually keep, let's say like a top 20 sources or something like that. What I'm talking about here is these sources. And then probably there's some of the sources that, like where the traffic is coming from are not as important if they don't have much numbers. So I can actually just keep only like top 10 or something like that. You can actually do is create other group, and then these most frequent values. And then let's say like I want to keep only like a 20 top sources. And what this is going to do is basically based on the top sources, and then keep only 20, and then create other group for like everything else. And I can just click on run button and then come back to that here, and then assign that to wait a second, this source. But however, when I come back to the chart, again, the pin is not still at the data source. I want to actually move this pin button to this like a second step. Then this color you see here is like a source. Now it's like F. It's like icon is F, meaning the factor data type instead of the character. Then like I get this type of view. So now, like what we saw in the under the analytics, like we here, there's like a September 15 and then October 17. That's those 2 days of much higher traffic. So what's going on here is that like it seems like this color is picking up right here. It's like a Reddit. So it turned out like this day somehow like a lot of traffic came from Reddit. So like somebody probably made a comment at the reddit.com, then probably like we get a lot of traffic from there. And also, for example, here, October 18, and then obviously October 18, and then October 16, this is like a direct access. So maybe like we might have sent some kind of like an email campaign or something to cause the direct access and so on. So we can see something like this. And also like we want to see like which country is actually causing. So as we know that this data has a country like Japan, United States, India, and so on. So which country is actually contributing to those surge of the traffic. And then we can actually do this anomaly detection for each country. And again, though, like instead, I can actually assign this country here. But the one thing I like you to be careful is that, again, this country has 133. And then when you have 133, most of the country is sort of like super small number of the sort of like a page views and so on. So we want to actually focus on sort of like a top country. In this case, almost like Japan, the United States are the top 2. And then, so like let's say like we want to keep only up to like 5 countries, and then make the rest of the countries call it like other. And then like we want to find like anomaly, run the anomaly detection, and then see like we can find some of the like irregular sort of, or like a lot of like page traffics. And then like that helps us to sort of like identify like what is contributing to those like higher number of the page views. So to do exactly, I'm going to do the same thing that I did just a few minutes ago. To click on the country column, create other group, and select these most frequent values. And again, like this time I'm going to set 5 because I want to keep top 5 countries, and then make everything else to be others. And then click run button, and I just override. I selected the overriding option, so I override the original column. So now this column is a factor. The factor is the data type in ours that is very similar to character or character. It's more like for the categorical data. But except this factor data type can have the order information. We call it level. So we can set like, hey, what is the first and what is the second? Sometimes, so in this case, if I click on the chart bottom, and then right now the sort is done by y-axis values. But if I don't, then actually respect the factor order information within the factor data type. So you can control which one to be first, which one to be second. And this type of thing is very useful when you start working with a statistical algorithm, or like you want to show some of the data in a particular order for your presentation or something. But nonetheless, that's a factor data type. And then it basically now we have only 5 and plus other, right? And in this case, now at this point, I can actually go back to the analytics and make sure like I'm going to move the pin button, because I don't, instead of like running this algorithm against this step of the data, I want to actually run this algorithm to the second step data, because I want to take advantage of this like top 10, top 5 countries data. So I'm going to just move this pin to the second step, and then assign the repeat country to the source, repeat by, and I click on run button. And this gives me sort of 6 different chart. Each chart is for each country. And then it basically builds an anomaly detection model behind the scene, and then gives me this result. So it turned out, for example, this second, September 15, that surge is coming from, seems like it's something other than these 5 countries. Right. So United States also like around September 15 is it's up a little bit, but it's a lot coming from other countries. And then here is like October 17th. That is mostly coming from United States and also Japan as well. October 17. Oh, actually, it's more like just from United States. So you can see some of the trend is slightly different among the countries. So this is where like you that type of things like you can use repeat by, which help you to identify sort of like local anomalies. So now, for example, going back to the chart, then like another thing we want to do is what was going on with this September 16. And then here we can actually do the same thing by the country. And then we can look at here what's going on here. And then again, this like a Reddit and also Google, and then like a direct. So it seems like something happening that Reddit, but the Reddit is really happening at the other countries and the United States a little bit, but not so much in Spain, Japan, India, so on. So this actually, I really like it because it helps us to identify like, like what's happening in terms of like our sort of like web traffic. And then like once we find that, like we can kind of, in this case, we are using only source, but we can also use a referral information. We can also use like a sort of a landing page information. Then it will give us more information in terms of like why we get more page traffic. And based on the insights, then we can do some type of different promotions or marketing campaign kind of stuff. Okay. And then this, again, the same thing. I could use, for example, final timesheets forecasting, and then assign that column on the same way, and then find that sort of like global anomalies. And then even like a Prophet can find, for example, something here like a September 16th, something. This in Anomaly, it was like September 17th. That was again like there was some kind of bug in that. This analytics view right now for the anomaly detection, so that one day is actually lagging, but sorry, one day is like it's one day behind. But here, basically the same thing, and then you can find this type of the global anomaly. It's very easy with the Prophet algorithm as well. Okay, so with that, I'd like to open up the Q&A, and so if you have any questions, please let me know. and the chat window is open as well. Okay. Thanks, John, for making that comment. Thank you, Onicio, for making a comment. And if you have any questions, please feel to please feel free to reach out to me, either with the email or with the intercom chat, website chat, or inside the tool chat or whatever, and then we can help you or guide you to the right resources as well. There's actually one question from John. What is the source that we actually put the data? So the first one is called Quando, which is here. So this site, it's QUANDL.com. This service, I think it was like maybe, I'm not sure like how long they were there. It's a relatively new startup, but recently just got acquired by SEC, I believe. NASDAQ, I think, acquired that. So they got more pump in the capital. So I think, and they're very known for the alternative data. So like these days, the portfolio managers, not just looking at the stock price itself or index itself, but they actually try to find a lot of different information. So, for example, Apple, like what is the inventory data, what is the people who talking about Apple, like, there are a lot of different types of data you can collect. So the Quando is focusing on that type of thing. So that is the alternative data. But also you can find a lot of financial data easily here as well. And then the second data like I used was data extensions, and then called here the extension data, and then Quando is the one like I just talked about, but another one is the historical stock prices data, and that is using, I think it's a different subs. It used to be using Yahoo Finance, and then I think it depends on what type of data you want, and then it switches. And if you like to dig more, and then you can actually go query search by tidy quant, and then you'll get some more detailed document as well. Okay. So with that, I'm gonna close today's session. Oops, there's one question. Do you have any thoughts on how we go about choosing some of these methods? So some of these methods is, okay. Yeah, so the question is like, what are the thoughts on how we go about choosing some of these methods? Yes, it's always, what are the right methods and what, based on what requirements, type of thing. So this, to me, I think it's like one thing you can do is sort of like a quick exploration. So if you do, and then it really depends on what type of data you have, and your data fits into this type of algorithm sphere, then I think anomaly detection can work. But like I said, some of the stuff, like let's say like a simple way to find anomaly detection is obviously focus on the variance of the data. And then let's say like, that some movements is beyond, like, let's say like a super simple way, it's like standard deviation, 1, 2, 3, whatever, then you think that's, like outside of the regular range or something. And then that's kind of like a first step, but then, it has a lot of sort of shortcomings by, taking that approach. Depends on the data you have. So then you start getting to more like a kind of complicated algorithm. So anomaly detection is one of them that you can use. And then again, it's pretty good at like finding anomaly on the global and also local. The problem is that it's a little bit hard to explain to other folks, why this is anomaly, but this is not anomaly kind of questions. So then like you need to actually get into more like the algorithm, like implementation on the algorithm side, which is not as hard, but still like you have to do the extra homework. Also, it's not, sometimes it doesn't detect some, even the kind of obvious global anomaly, because that is just because your eyes can detect doesn't mean like from algorithm point of view can detect. So that's where, for example, the Prophet algorithm, which is for forecasting, but also can be used to spot more like a global anomalies as well. So I encourage you to try different approaches, and then basically like decide like based on your data like what is actually giving you the insight, useful insights. And again, like the real thing here is, for example, Google Analytics is the easier example. It's because we have the problem clearly defined, which is we want to understand where our users are coming from. And then based on that information, and if something is trending, then we want to actually double down on it. So let's say like if somebody was talking about Exploratory on the Reddit, then we want to understand what they're talking about. And then instead of like every day like we check every single website, then that's basically not gonna be efficient way to do it. But anomaly detection algorithm can actually help us to spot on which website to go and then what people are talking about. So I'm not sure like I directly answer your question, but I think that's how actually use this algorithm. Could you need to learn? Okay, I guess. Okay, good. Yes. Okay, so I'm gonna close this session. If you have any question, let me know. Even like after this session, I'm more than happy to help or support you. Okay. So I'm gonna stop.